alcohol, hard liquor, but also played into like the ethos of what we wanted to embody with our brand. Is that this is like the, kind of played on the concept of this being the liquid spirit of this amazing, majestic animal. Then you got to trademark the name, which takes an attorney and filing, and then you have to design, what is the package going to look like? That's just how you come up with the word mark. And for this, I wanted to make sure we walk the walk all the way through, each step. And so our packaging, like glass, labels, stoppers, seals, boxes, all of that is made from 100% recycled materials. And I think we're the first spirit company to ever do that. So we use recycled Mexican glass, agave fiber labels, biodegradable seals, repurposed cork stoppers, and 100% recycled cardboard boxes. And even the glue that adheres the label onto the glass bottle is biodegradable, made from corn. And every single one of those components is made within an 85-mile radius of our distillery. So we're supporting local manufacturers. And it also makes sense from a business perspective. So that there's the inspiration of wanting to do it right, but then looking at it like from a business perspective, it really cuts down on some of our supply chain logistics and makes it easier to manage. We wanted the product to look like kind of ranch or outdoorsy lifestyle, again, because we kind of knew the direction we were going with it. So we show the kind of the earthen tones of the agave fiber itself on the label, and then differentiate between our expressions, Blanco, Reposado, and later our Añejo, with colored neckbands that kind of make it clear that, the Blanco is blue. So we chose three colors for our three main expressions, Blanco, Reposado, and Añejo, based on the colors we saw in the agave fields. So the blue, it represents the sky. There's always sunny in Jalisco, and there's always this beautiful wide open sky. The green color is really the color of the agave plant, and then the reddish orange on our Añejo represents the iron-rich soil on the Vivanco's ranch. And so kind of playing into those three color schemes came up with it all. We always want there to be a meaning and a purpose for everything we do. I just believe life's too short not to take the time to do it right, so you can look back and have pride in what we did. So we want to make sure every decision we make is not just because, but there's a real reason for it that ties into something. I chose the shorter, squattier bottle that we use, that like actual bottle shape, just because it was different than what other tequila brands were using. And to me, it looked more humble. It looked more like it actually came from this region, which it obviously does, but it just seemed to represent the ranch, the Jaguar Reserve, and everything a little bit better. And I've always envisioned, and we chose kind of just a cork stopper as opposed to a cap with like a wooden top, because it just seemed like something a little bit more old timey that maybe somebody riding a horse, 100 years ago might pull out of a satchel and like bite the top off and then take a swig. It just kind of just seemed to work. And that's a really fun process of doing the design work. Frustrating, but fun process of watching the kind of vision come to life in reality. But that's kind of how we chose each step along the way.
That's awesome. Yeah, even more so that there's a story behind every label and every, like you said, the color. It's not just, because this is this kind of, or this is going to be an Añejo, we got to use this one, or, we're going to.
Yeah, it's not just because it's pretty. It is pretty, but there's a reasoning for it.
Right, exactly. And I love even more that squatty bottle, like you said. Like I liked it when I first saw it, and then, like you said, it looks like something you would see, out of Yellowstone or something. They, like you said, pull out of the satchel, pull the top off and just go swig at it. So that I like that so much too. And there's not I can't think of other tequilas that are that shaped either. I think bourbons for sure, whiskeys, but not. I don't think I've seen another tequila with that bottle shape either.
So there are 3,000 brands out there, like I said. So there are some brands that have a similar shape, but nobody's using this exact shape. But yeah, and all of these things are how we differentiate ourselves. Ultimately, in a crowded marketplace, it's all about differentiation. Right. And so we differentiate with, our ethos, our production methods, our reason for believing Jaguar conservation, our product quality, and then all of these little details along the way is hopefully how we are memorable and different to a consumer. I like to say that the true test on any brand, whether it be in any consumer product brand, any category, is can somebody tell you the story of it, and can you remember that story 2 weeks later? Because most of the time, the brand story is uninteresting enough or forgettable enough to where you don't remember it 2 weeks later. And I feel like that's sort of the test, is like, can somebody actually remember it, in the future?
Yeah, I mean, that is the ultimate thing. I remember that being an issue as well. Is like, I had so many brands I had to deal with, but like, which story was with which brand, and like you said, can you remember it 2 weeks later? Because it sounds great at the time, but let's say you go buy your bottle, take it home, and then try to tell that story to somebody else 2-3 weeks later, and you're like, I think it was this, but it may have been that, and then so yeah, I love that I never thought about it that way. Can you still tell that story 2 weeks after the fact?
And that's why, this is sort of obvious, but that's why the word Jaguar is in our name and the most prominent word on our bottle. And that's why there's an actual image of a Jaguar there, because those are just the triggers that help people remember.
Yeah. Well, so tell us more about the Northern Jaguar project. Like you said, 10% of what you guys bring in, you guys give to them. Tell us about other events and other ways that you guys have really helped out with the Jaguars.
Yeah, so the Northern Jaguar project, my uncle's group was the inspiration for it, but all of their work is done in Sonora, Mexico, south of the border. But like I said, Jaguars are actually native to the U.S., and we know of about 8 wild Jaguars in Arizona today. And so with this brand, I did want to do something that my uncle's group didn't do and couldn't do for legal reasons, which was work on both sides of the border. So we do donate we donate 10% of our profits to wild jaguar conservation as a whole, working with different groups in that category. So the Northern Jaguar Project is certainly one of them. But we're starting to work with a group at the University of Arizona that's doing studies in southern Arizona, as well as the Malpai Borderlands group, which is a rancher-oriented group in southern Arizona. And so we want to donate to different groups that we all think are making an impact in different ways towards this bigger environmental cause. And kind of the genesis of it all really is bigger than the cat itself. It's all about borderland conservation. So the U.S.-Mexico border is one of the most ecologically diverse areas in the entire world. It's obviously a vast area, stretching, from California all the way to the Gulf Coast and Texas. But there's certain areas along that border, specifically south of Arizona and New Mexico in the Sierra Madre Mountains and in the north of the border in the Sierra Madre Mountains, that have the most biological diversity found anywhere on Earth, because it's the confluence of all these different regions coming together. And it's an overlooked area. It's an overlooked area due to political conflict around the border wall, immigration, drug smuggling. It's overlooked because it historically was largely cattle ranching country, and just open prairie, not touched land. But now it is pretty controversial in this area due to mining, whether that be copper mining or rare earth mineral mining is one of the recent hot topics in the area. And that's all the stuff, that goes into our computer chips. But there's not a lot of, there's a lot of different groups trying to do environmental conservation in this region, but not a lot of people getting a ton of attention for it. And our idea was, a lot of these topics are either really political for the reasons I stated earlier, or really academic and nerdy. And either way, those two arenas, like the academic area and the political area, are really intimidating for somebody to step in and want to ask questions and learn about, for different reasons, but equally intimidating, I would say. And so the idea was with this tequila brand, we could raise awareness and money for this, for this bigger environmental cause, and get people talking about it in a different setting, around a fire pit with friends or at a bar with friends and family, drinking tequila, which is the great, alcohol is the great, lubricant of conversation. And it sort of gets people to bring down their guard and just and tequila's generally fun, right? We think of it as with fun consumption occasions.
Yeah.
It's starting to work. It's getting people talking about these topics in arenas that they otherwise wouldn't be talking about. And so far, we have donated like $15,000 worth of equipment to the Northern Jaguar Project, and another $10,000 in travel to them to various conferences to meet with potential donors. And we've donated another $10,000 to the other groups, and hopefully that's going to really grow as our brand takes off. But the cool stuff that we did on the Northern Jaguar Reserve was we donated hiking boots, tents, a drone, laptop, motion triggered trail cameras, which is how they study wildlife there on the reserve, in-reach satellite phones, and things like that. I didn't, for our initial donation, I wanted to actually buy a lot of the stuff that they needed as opposed to just donate cash that could be, in theory, mismanaged. I wanted to make sure that the field research team at the reserve got an upgrade in all this equipment that they desperately needed to do their work.
Right. That's awesome that you guys are doing that. And, like you said, they're the third biggest cat out there. And I think a lot of people don't think about that. They probably think of them, much smaller than they are, but they need the help too.
Yeah, and that's what I forgot to tie it all together. Is the jaguar is sort of the apex predator. It is the largest apex predator of the Americas, but it's the biggest, kind of air quotes, coolest animal in this region that inspires people. Obviously, animals are not cooler than the next one, but it excites people more than talking about bats or talking about birds or lizards and things like that. But it's an umbrella species in that regard. So from like a biology perspective, an environmental conservation perspective, if you can protect an apex predator like a jaguar, it's an umbrella species that then will protect all of the fauna and fauna underneath it in its territory. So at the end of the day, we're all about like land conservation, right? And keeping these lands wild and not destroyed by political issues like the border wall, which does not allow animals to pass through it if they're, quadrupeds like a jaguar. And then also protecting it from mining. And the jaguar is like kind of the great symbol of that. Yeah, but really cool fact on the jaguar itself as an animal. It ranges today from Arizona all the way to southern Argentina. It's the third biggest cat in the world, like we said. So jaguars are often confused with leopards based on a similar spot pattern, but jaguars are about twice as big as a leopard. They have the strongest bite of any cat. And fun fact is only the tiger, lion, and jaguar can roar. The other cats are not capable of roaring. So like a mountain lion is like a screaming cat, and there's various versions of that. But a jaguar is really a closer relative to a tiger than it is a leopard, even though their patterns look more similar.
That's really interesting. I imagine a lot of people do probably confuse them, but I didn't realize they were twice the size.
Yeah, and they're a little bit bigger in terms of like bone structure, but the majority of that extra size is muscle mass. So leopards are typically leaner and longer and skinnier, and jaguars are like the fullback of the cat. They're ripped, really strong, and they're just killing machines. You can Google or YouTube jaguar hunting, like not people hunting them, but the jaguar hunting its prey. And they will dive out of trees into rivers and kill crocodiles underwater. They will run down deer. I mean, they're just lethal killing machines. It's pretty amazing to watch them in the wild. And the last fun fact here is that most predators, whether it be a cat or a wolf or a bear, go for the jugular, go for the throat during like a kill scenario. The jaguar actually comes from behind and bites through its prey's skull. Whoa. So if it was coming for you, it wouldn't jump up and bite you in the throat. It would come from behind and would bite straight through the top of your skull, which is just kind of like that's intense to think about. And when you watch them in the wild, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's pretty savage and brutal. And I did not. I always love the nature is metal Instagram page, but I